Hi everyone, welcome to Quilt Talk. I'm Jodi Barrows with The Square in a Square, and all week we have been doing filming for our new Quilt Club Week 2021, which will be December 1 through 4, and we've been talking about it all week as we've had our Quilt Talk. So for those of you that don't know, this is Kay and this is Kathy. They're my Tennessee friends. They are quilting experts.
Oh, yeah. That's right, we are.
Sure.
And fun-loving girls. We have done a lot of laughing and having a good time this week while we've been doing work. And we've been eating pretty good, haven't we?
Oh, we've been eating great. Thanks, Steve. Appreciate it.
We've got to keep our stamina up for all the work we've been doing. Between the three of us, what did we figure? That there's 150 years?
Yeah.
Over 150 years of quilting experience sitting right here. So what that means is that we can really tell you how not to do it.
Yeah, that's right.
Don't do it like that. Do it like this. So I mean, Kay, if you've watched any of Kay's stuff before, or if you've been fortunate enough to watch us on our previous two Quilt Talks this week, you can go back and watch one on Tuesday and one on Wednesday, and today's Thursdays. But Kay is a get it done girl. She wants her work to look nice, but she's a get it done girl. That's kind of the way I was. I wanted to get my stuff done. I wanted my points sharp, my work smooth and flat. And that's how I came up with the Square in a Square system, which we're going to do some demos of it today. And we're going to go through the different products. People have asked to know about the different rulers and the different books. So I'm going to take the time today to do that. We also are officially have sign up ready to go for Premium Club and for Quilt Club 2020. You can go back and watch the one that we did last year. It has so much valuable teaching in it, and you'll be able to watch it from as soon as you sign up, which can be today to the end of the year, and then you'll be all ready to go for our Quilt Club 2021. Now, you don't have to have 20 to watch 21, but they do kind of build on each other.
Yeah, right.
And it
will, there's some things we refer to that
help increase your knowledge. To do that. Now, and we're going to show you a couple of quilts, and you'll notice behind here we have our For Love of Country done. We've opened up the sign-ups for classes on it and for the kit, and we're going to talk about it a little bit more. And Kay has been talking for a year now about destashing and cleaning your stuff. And so this morning after breakfast, she said, and I think she even did it like this. So, Jodi, do we get to go in your closet? So in my sewing studio, I have a big walk-in closet. Now, most of the stuff that I use is out in the room, but in the walk-in closet is the storage and the extra stuff and all of that. Now, 6 years ago, we moved. So I did a pretty deep dive in cleaning out my sewing room, getting rid of fabric. I sold lots of stuff. I sold books. I was like, I have these two bookshelves, so I can keep whatever books are on these two shelves. And if it doesn't fit, then I've got to either take one of those out or whatever, but that's it on the books. Yeah. And then I have like 3 racks of really my stash fabric. I don't have that
right.
much.
No, you're really good.
You're good. And it's all stacked up and color coordinated in there.
Right.
Yeah. So Kay went and got in the closet. What did you find in the closet, Kay?
You should have seen Jodi run up those stairs.
Oh, she's getting
Kay's in my closet. Oh my God.
She's in my stuff.
Well, it wasn't extremely bad. I've seen worse, but there was...
I've seen worse.
You're right up there.
I know.
You couldn't walk in. You couldn't see
because
what you
the
had.
Kids had
because,
toys.
yeah, that's sure, because the kids.
The grandkids had some
The
toys.
grandkids has their toys in there, which, yes, they did. But there were still other things in there that she just kind of opened the door and tossed in there. And then, you know.
Yeah.
So we kind of started sorting out a little bit this morning. Yeah. Pulled a few things out, and I said, Jodi, do you really need this? And
she went, yes.
Yes, I really do want to keep that.
She had trouble letting go.
She kind of did on some things.
But you pulled out all of those old clothing patterns from the 80s.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
And
I don't bring them over.
I kind of gathered them up again, thinking, no. But then I released them later.
Yes, you did.
After lunch. I was
you
like,
did.
okay.
You did release them.
Yeah,
but
the wide shoulders and the...
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
The 80s. Do you guys remember the 80s clothes and all of the crafty
Yes.
Oh, yeah, the patchwork jumper
and everything. Yeah. If you're looking for any of those patterns, email me quick.
Quickly,
they're
before
getting
they garbage.
But the thing about about Jodi is
yes.
What?
she's not going to throw them in the garbage
Nope.
away. She's going to keep the
tissue.
tissue paper
And
to
use it.
wrap
What
for
is it?
gifts.
What
Yeah.
kind of paper is it?
Tissue.
Tissue.
Tissue paper, like the patterns, you know.
Tissue. I love that.
It's like
So you can use it to. You can use the old patterns for, you know, you can wrap gifts in it. You
Right.
can use it to, you know.
well, you might wallpaper your bathroom
Yeah,
with it.
I have seen that.
I mean, I've seen that. I've
Yeah.
seen it. I've
Yeah.
thought about it.
So
You
it's
have to
gonna go-
decoupage it.
Yes.
So it's going to
You
go
do.
from the sewing section to the
To
craft section,
section.
Okay.
and get used up.
Okay.
I'm not sure where that
I was
craft
gonna say,
section
well, I haven't seen
is.
the
That
craft
was the
section.
other closet.
I almost opened the other closet
Closet, yeah.
door and I thought, no.
Well, she wouldn't have even thought of that if
One
Steve hadn't attacked
Yes,
about
yeah.
me.
I don't even know where that closet is.
So as you go
At the
up
top of the stairs,
Oh,
and
to
you
the
go
right.
right.
Oh. Oh, I already peeked in.
That's
that
where
one.
the boxes goes.
The big tubs and the big boxes.
Yeah.
That's where all the knitting is too.
Oh, is all the knitting
Yeah.
in there too?
Yeah. I took it out of that closet and used it because I knew I wasn't coming back to it for a while.
That's
So
true.
Yeah.
That's
It
true.
went in the deeper storage.
Deeper storage.
Is there
deep
another
freeze.
one?
The deep
Deep
freeze.
freeze.
Like you
yeah.
have to lift up and down.
So we'll
below?
come back
Yeah,
next
yeah.
year to see if
any
anything
of
has
that-
been used.
Yes, it will.
Okay.
Yeah, it will.
All right.
So
believe
anyway, we want to encourage you to get into your stuff
Yep.
with a friend or without,
Right.
and
She's
to just clean it out. Get rid of the stuff that you're not going to use. Remember those unfinished projects that, you know, think about why you haven't finished that.
Right.
You know, and are you going to finish it? Move it on. Some stuff I put in my granddaughter's sewing section,
Yeah.
so that she knows when she opens that little cabinet,
It's all
anything in
hers.
there, she can cut, she can glue, she can do whatever she wants with any of it. Yeah. Okay, question.
It's Mr. Steve.
Maggie from Tennessee says, howdy from Chattanooga.
Hey!
Jodi, where are your Tennessee friends from?
We're from Franklin, Tennessee, and
Murfreesboro.
Yep. And they had the quilt shop in Franklin,
Franklin.
for
The quilting
many,
squares.
many years,
For
and sold it about 2 years ago.
yes.
Nice lady named Ann. Go give
Yep.
her a visit.
Yes.
Yes.
And where's the location of
It's
that
on
shop?
Lewisburg Pike.
Lewisburg Pike.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if you go on a Tuesday,
Tuesday.
around noon,
Yeah, we'll make it.
We might be there.
sometimes they hide out at the quilt shop on Tuesdays. Never know.
Anne allows us to do that, which
Yes.
is very nice.
She's
Yeah.
been very nice. Very
Yeah.
nice.
She's got
to
some
us.
great fabrics.
Yes,
So-
she
Yeah.
does.
So go
Yeah,
she
give
does.
her a visit.
Yeah.
So what else did we find in my deep dive?
Oh,
Get that.
That's right. Get
Well-
rid of your coffee cup.
Well, no, this is
Oh, I
Quilt
this is
Talk.
my coffee cup.
This
Just
is-
stay away from
This is
it.
Quilt Talk. She can have her. She
You
can
could
have her coffee.
I gotta have my coffee, or you're gonna.
Okay.
Okay, so yesterday's Quilt Talk, we talked about applique, and we were talking about the For Love of Country and the applique, and about how that you just kind of start trying stuff and see what works for you. Now, this was one that I tried, and it turned out pretty nice, but I didn't enjoy the process, and it was very crafty, meaning that you use glue, you have to cut the paper out, you have to go to the sink and wash out the wash away stuff and everything, and I was not happy with the process. Even though I think my work turned out pretty good for the first time, I did not enjoy the process, and this is all about enjoying what you
process.
do. So try stuff, see if you like it. If you don't, then move on to something else. And that's something that I love about Quilt Club Week, is it's a little, it's an intense week, but it's a little module of classes, and you get a 20-minute demo on this, or you get a hour-long class on this, or you get a lecture or a little mini workshop. You get all of these
Do a
different
variety
things.
of things. Yeah.
Lectures, demos, classes, how to use pre-cuts, all of those different things we talk about during Quilt Club Week. And you get to watch the class and try it with what you have at home before you invest in anything of, oh, hey, would I really do that? And when you go to take a class at a guild or at a quilt show or whatever, you have this big supply list you get, and you have to get all this stuff, and then you get to class and you forgot something, or people always say there's stuff on the list we never got to or never used.
Right.
And it's frustrating because you
It
spent
is.
money on it. And then maybe when the class is over, you're thinking, well, I don't know that I really love that. And now I have all this stuff. So I love that about Quilt Club Week is that you get to kind of try stuff and see stuff before you have to invest in it.
Right.
So when it comes to the applique, after many, many years of doing it and trying lots of different ways, I've kind of come up with mixing some things together and have come up with a way that I like, and I think it's quick on the prep. I like to cut and sew. That's what
Right.
I like to do. So if something has a lot of prep to it, it doesn't necessarily always excite me, that
Right.
process of
Right.
prepping
It does me.
yeah. So I'm always trying to get to my project faster. So with the way I do my applique, I get to it faster, but I get the real thing. And the real thing to me is that nice needle edge turn,
Right.
but we don't do the needle edge
you don't
on
do
it.
needle
So
turn.
when we
But
get
you get the look of it.
you get the
get the
look
look
of
of
it,
it.
yeah,
Yes.
and the fun of it, yeah.
Yes.
So on our For the Love of Country here, we've got 4 little applique blocks, and if you're brand new to applique and you want to take the class, don't let that scare you away. I've designed all the shapes so that they're very easy shapes to cut and turn and stitch. You're gonna have good results. I always like to set my students up for success, and I think about that in the making of a pattern or the making of the shapes for the applique. I think, can everybody sit down and do this? And if I think people can't sit down and do it, then I don't put
Don't
it in
wanna do
there.
it. No.
I save that for something later for the more experienced, and I say, okay, building on the knowledge you have, let's see how this goes. But I never put that into what the whole masses of groups are going to do.
Right.
Okay, so
So the
projects. This is probably the oldest unfinished project I
Right.
have, and it actually came like this, and it's still in the same state that
So
I
it was
got it.
quilted when it came.
It was already quilted.
So I was teaching, I think, in Canada, and they had this beautiful fabric that this border goes across both edges. And so basically it's a tablecloth, and you bought as much yardage as your table was, and then you quilted it on your big long arm, and then
They
you put
did that.
binding on it, and it was done.
Yes.
So I was there multiple days, and I was like, I'll take it if you guys have time to get it quilted for me, so that when I get home,
Oh,
all
you
I
put
have
the
to do is put binding on it. Well,
And how many years has it?
well, I know that I've lived in this house 6 years, and I moved it
Yeah.
here, and I probably had it at least 2 years before that.
Uh-huh.
So,
Okay.
Kay, being my good friend and being the binding queen that she is, she's going to take it home and bind it. So it's
Or I'm going to try to get it done tonight if I possibly can.
Oh, well, I didn't know that. We might get it done tonight. But you know that
Yes.
little story about the Grinch that stole Christmas, how he went into the house to get the Christmas tree, and Cindy Lou Who caught him, and he said, you have a light bulb on top that's not working. He said, I'm going to take it. She said, why, oh, why are you taking my Christmas tree? Why? And he said, well, you have a light that's not working. He said, I'm going to take it back to my workshop and fix it, and I'll bring it back. Well, of course, he never did.
Is that what you're afraid
He
she's gonna
dumped
do?
it at Mount Trumpet. So she says, oh, you have a quilt without binding. I will take it back to my workshop. I will fix it, and I will bring it back to you. What do you guys bet this is on her table at Christmas? Send me a picture, okay? Send me a pic.
That's why I want to get it done now.
Yeah.
Now, we're also going to show a binding. People had asked for binding to know how to cut the binding
Bias part
on the
of it.
bias. So we're going to do that little demo today, too. Okay. Yes, sir? Steve has a question.
How about any kind of demo or on your way of doing applique?
Not today.
It's in quilt.
It will be it'll be when we teach for Love of Country is when I'll do the demo on that. Okay. If you go back on Facebook, you maybe can find some just little lives, which I call In My Sewing Room Tonight, which are real impromptu. You might be able to find something on there. I know I was doing the stitching on one of those, but not the prep work, and that prep work is the most important part. But we have a lot of applique planned for Quilt Club Week, so you'll get a heavy, intense teaching on that. Maybe maybe 2 different teachers. Maybe me and one other teacher were
Not
getting
me.
that together.
Not me.
No, not
these
you.
2. A surprise teacher. A
Oh,
surprise teacher.
it's not us. What?
I thought we were exclusive.
Me too.
Well, you are exclusive.
Oh.
Exclusively unique. Okay. All right. Do we have anything else over there that we dug out of that
Nope.
closet?
Nope, that was
Everything else is either put back or trashed.
it. Yeah,
Or in
sort
your
of, kind
car.
of.
I maybe
Or
need,
in her car.
I maybe need to check the back of her trunk.
Yeah,
I-
I've been putting things
yeah.
in there as I go,
Yeah,
haven't
there
I?
you go. I maybe need to check the back of her car. Okay, so let's next. I'm going to talk about the different square and square products. I'm going to do a quick demo and how to use the charts. So for those of you that don't know anything, you can maybe get a little bit of idea. Okay, every quilt we make starts out just like this. We have a square in the middle. We have strips on the side. And you can, of course, make them any size and any color. But every quilt we do, I've made hundreds of quilts. I mean, throughout the quilt world over the last 30 years, there's hundreds of thousands of quilts that have been made like this. I have one student that joined Premium Club. She had made garments. But she didn't have a sewing machine. But growing up, she had made garments. She had a little bit of sewing background, and she came to Paducah. She saw a square and a square. She kept asking me about each book, each ruler, what they did. She wound up buying all of them, and she went home. And she was home in Texas before we were loaded up at Paducah. And before we were even loading up at the end of the Paducah show, she had bought one kit to try it. And, it was, like probably like a wall hanging size. But she was already texting me pictures of the quilt, and it was done. And at
Sherry.
Paducah, Sherry,
Sherry.
she bought
Yeah.
a new sewing machine at
Yeah.
Paducah.
Oh, so that.
So she came home, set the sewing machine up, learned the
and went to
sewing
town.
machine, dug in her books, and had that quilt done before
Yeah.
we even loaded up at Paducah. And now I'm thinking
She's
that's
just-
3 years.
3 or 4, yeah.
Three and a
Probably.
half, because
Yeah.
Paducah's in the spring, so it's probably 3.5 years
Yeah.
now. And I bet she's made 125, 130 quilts.
Oh,
Probably
Yeah.
has.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
She's always posting
Yeah, different pictures.
different
Yeah.
pictures.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and everything starts out just like this. So if you can, no matter what triangle unit you're making, you start out with what we call the basic square. And this is the original ruler, and here's the 90, and it goes right into the tip or the corner of that center square. The lines go right down over the seam. Your grid line goes right through that point. And your ruler, this is what we call the original ruler, and if you're just getting started, this is what you need. And it has the Quick and Easy book that comes with it, and the Quick and Easy book has 5 of the options, which are the triangle units. There's 40 of them. It has 21 blocks, and it has 6 completed patterns. So it's a great book to start with, and this is your main ruler right here. And this is the only way it comes, Quick and Easy book with the ruler. And that's the ruler that does the system I've had for over 30 years. So once you have it in here, and I love it that one ruler makes everything. It makes every triangle unit, it makes them any size. So when we trim right here, it's going to leave that 1/4 of an inch. And that's what's hard when you sew, is trying to connect triangles and squares together and still get that perfect seam allowance,
It is.
those perfect points. And as you go around, you just repeat the process of putting it in there. But where you've already cut, you make sure that your block is staying square. You don't want it looking like that.
No.
You know, you've got to keep. So always look at, if you've started cutting, always look where you've cut to make sure it looks neat. Always look at your seam allowance to make sure you have the correct seam allowance on there. And we're just trimming it off, going around all 4 corners. And this is option 1. Option 1 is the square and a square. Option 3 is the flying geese. Option 4, half square triangles. And those are the main units that you need for almost every quilt that you make. Most everything you make, you're going to have those, just like that. So here you can see how it is, just like that. And that's an option 1. Your block is square. Your points are going to be sharp. You've got plenty of seam allowance. So what the square and a square system does, it allows you to be the human in making your basic square. because you're cutting, you're sewing, you're pressing is right in here, and that's where you're going to lose or gain accuracy. And when you put the ruler on here, you're keeping your seam allowances good, and you're keeping it square. So everything fits together. It's nice and clean work. It's easy to do. Now, if you were making this in the traditional quilt world, they would tell you to cut a square, cut four
little
triangles, and then you've got to find the perfect middle of that perfect triangle and put it in the perfect middle of that perfect square. And sew a perfect seam allowance. And you have to do that here, 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 and here.
4 times.
So you've got over 12 human elements or 12 opportunities to mess it up. And then your points aren't going to be nice. You don't have enough seam allowance, because when you're doing it the traditional way, if this isn't so nice, you're not going to get this here.
That's right.
And so as you're trying to put stuff together, you're trying to match stuff up, and it's a mess. And then they say, oh, make 130 of these for the quilt. And it's like, really?
You know, project.
Yeah, really. Okay. So I always tell everyone that if you learn the option 1, which is leave the 1/4 of an inch, and if you learn the flying geese, then you can make any of them.
That's right.
Because everything starts out with this square, and you're either going to trim leaving the 1/4 of an inch, or here you can see those nice sharp points. So if you're cutting through those points, we have to trim those different, because we have to create a seam allowance in the middle here, and we have to move those points. So when you come back and sew a 1/4 and a 1/4, your point will be right there, right exactly where you need it to be. If you leave the 1/4 of an inch here and cut it in half, you're not going to get a sharp point when you sew it back into the project. You're going to have a blunted area, which sometimes that's the look you're looking for, but most of the time, you know, when you're making flying geese, that's not what you're looking for. So to do this trim right up to the tip, that one is crooked, so we're not going to do that one. Let's do this one. So we're going to trim 2 opposite corners, leaving the 1/4 of an inch, and watching everything just like we did before, lining those lines up, making sure it's staying square where we've already cut. So I'm looking to make sure it's square. It's not that it's lining up perfect on the line. That's not what it's supposed to be, because it depends on that size. But you can tell if the fabric and the lines are neat and parallel. And, you know, like if it looked like that, then obviously that wouldn't be good. So go to the opposite side, leave that 1/4 of an inch. Now we're going to go to the other 2 sides, and we're going to trim sharp. We call it the 2-step, because you put your 90 in there, and then we're going to step over 1, 2. People sometimes say, well, why do you have these other lines on here if we don't use them? Well, as new options come, we use more lines. Yeah.
Very smart on when you first designed this.
Somehow.
Because you put the lines on, you knew what lines to put on there for the future.
Yeah, if they bought a ruler 30 years ago, it's still the
Yes.
same ruler. They don't
Yes, it
they don't
is.
need another one. And as we keep designing more triangle units, your same tool works. You don't have to buy a new tool. You maybe have, like the option 40 is not in any of the books. It's a new one, and you buy it as a separate pattern. But
Right.
your same
Still the
tool.
same tool.
Yeah.
Right.
So then where we did it right up to those tips, we're just going to cut it in half, and there's my 2 perfect flying geese. They're smooth, flat, good points, seam allowances, no dog ears, no whoppy jaw.
Yep.
Just nice.
No squaring it up.
Yeah, so if you're going to make a star, of course, you would put 4 of those together, and that's just how easy your star is, just like that.
Super easy.
So option 1, square and a square. Option 3, flying geese. Option 4, half square triangles. So you've learned to leave a 1/4. You've learned to do the 2-step and mix it. Now on this one, you're going to 2-step all 4 corners. So I'm just going to quickly go and step it over.
Now you can go on either side of those lines
Yes.
too. You
The
can go
left,
to
yeah,
the
use
left,
the
or you
others.
can go up to the right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so here's your 90. You can go step 2 to the left, or you can step 2 to the right. And sometimes when this starts growing and get
Right.
big, it may be that you need more
room.
ruler down here
Right.
for the fabric that you're cutting. Okay, and make sure you're staying square. So you can 2-step to the left or to the right, it doesn't matter. But keep it square as you go along. Now, if you're on the dance floor and you're going left, you're going to run into everybody. But
To the left, to the left, to the
but if you're going right, then the whole circle goes
That's
together.
the way it's supposed
Yeah.
to go.
Okay, so here we are right in the two-step in all four corners. So remember with the flying geese, you cut it one direction, but now for half square triangles, we're going to cut it
Twice.
both directions. So anytime you're cutting through the point, either now or later, depending on the option, then you're going to go right up to the tip. And there's my 4 half square triangles just like that.
So it's great you can get 4 of them out of
Yes.
one.
Units out of one.
unit.
Well, and the thing that I love about the half square triangles with this, because I'm a scrappy girl, I like multiple
Yes, you can get-
fabrics in
yes.
mine. And I can use my background in the center,
Center.
put a different color on
Color on
each
each
side. I
side.
get 4
Right.
different ones.
Yeah.
I don't
Right.
have to make a whole bunch of these in red and a whole bunch of these in blue to get that variety that I want. Now these are kind of small, but when they're large enough, we save them and we sew them back on a square. So depending on the size of your square, I might have a couple in here that are
Tiny.
from scrap, literally from scraps, meaning that they don't have the strip looking like a real strip. It looks like a funky shape, which I'm not seeing any of them in here.
You
But-
got them up in your scrap basket.
Yeah, they're up there. So if did you throw that
I was
away?
going to say, did she throw them out? Better watch it.
Okay, now of course your square would have to be smaller, but see how this strip is sewn on the side of a square? You can take your scrap and sew it on the side of a square, but the proportions have to be
Big enough,
correct.
correct.
Yeah.
Right.
So let's talk about proportions. How do we know what size we're going to be cutting for stuff? Well, if you're following any of the patterns in the books, they're going to tell you exactly what to cut, what sizes of squares and strips, and what triangle unit it's going to be, and they're a step-by-step pattern, just like what you want. We have over 30 patterns in this book, and each pattern that can be broke down into multiple sizes is broke down into
The block
multiple
is-
sizes.
the
So,
block's in multiple.
yeah, so when you look at the pattern, if this says it's an 8-inch block, well, if you want a different size, we have a 3, a 4, a 5, a 6, a 10, and a 12. And it even tells you estimated fabric amounts
Wow.
for your blocks. So we've done as much work as we can.
Yes. Oh, yes.
I always say we want to get you to the sewing table faster.
Yep.
That's right.
So you have your quilts, and then you have your charts, and the charts start in on page 34. And the charts are when you are kind of designing something yourself. You need some flying geese for whatever you're making. It's not one of my patterns, so it's not written
True.
my way. So what you need to know is what size of square and what size of strips, so that this turns out to be the size you're
You
looking
want it.
for.
Yes.
So there's 2 things you have to know and understand to use the charts. And if you can wrap your head around this, then you've got it made. Okay. So there is a cut size. And a cut size means that it has raw edges. So when I'm looking at this, it has raw edges. It's a cut
Cut
size. Okay? And sometimes in the quilt world, people will call it unfinished.
Or cut
Finished.
size too.
Yeah. So cut or raw or unfinished is all the same size, and it's the larger size. Now, where people get confused, whether it's flying geese or whether it's a block from Joe Blow, it will say that this is like this is a finished flying goose, but it's not a finished size.
Right.
It's an unfinished size. So that's where people, no matter what they're doing, get
Right,
confused.
Mm-hmm.
Because people will say, oh, it's finished.
Yes.
It's
You
a
know.
finished goose, but it's not in the quilt.
Yeah, because if it has raw edges,
Just
it is unfinished, even though I'm finished with that flying goose.
Yes.
So that's where people get messed up. Now the other size of the smaller size is what they call finished. And that finished is sewn, all sewn, no raw edge.
Into the whatever
Mhm.
it is.
It's sewn or it's graph paper or finished. Those 3 measurements all mean the same thing. This is the larger measurement, this is the smaller.
The
So
larger one has the seam allowances on it,
mhm.
and the sewn does not
means
have
that
these.
it's, yeah, it
there's
means
no
it's
seam
been,
allowances.
it's been
All
sewn.
into the,
It's all been sewn.
Mhm.
into the
Yeah.
quilt.
So when I look at this quilt behind me, and I look at these units, there's no raw edges. So that means this is a finished star because there's no raw edges. If I had not put these stars together yet, even though the star is finished, if it still had raw edges, it would be an unfinished size. So let's look at this down here. So let's say that this cut flying goose is a 2.5 by 4.5. That is the cut size, the larger size. So that means it sews down to the finished, and it will be a 2 by 4 size, okay? So when you use the charts in the book, you have to get this sewn size. So that you want a 2 by 4 sewn flying goose with the raw edges is going to be 2.5 by 4.5,
Right.
okay? So you go to your option 3, each option has a chart, and you go to that option 3 if you're looking for flying geese. And because of what we just learned, we know that it says sewn or finished size.
Right.
So that means that's a smaller one, 2 by 4. So we run our finger down here, find the 2 by 4, and then move across horizontally. The middle column tells you what size to cut the center square, and the last column tells you what size to cut your strips. So it's just, it's really
Easy
easy.
peasy.
It is.
You've got to
It's a
wrap your head
complicated unit.
around
Right.
sewn
Sewn.
and cut.
Right.
Now, lots of times people will send me an email and they'll say, I need help with flying goose. I need a finished 2.5 by 4.5. So I immediately know that if she's talking about a flying goose, this is not a finished size. Because in a finished size, whatever this short side is, you double it, and that's the long side.
Yep.
So I instantly know this is not a finished measurement.
Right.
Because if this is
2.5
here, and you double it, then that makes that 5.
Mm-hmm.
And a flying goose is a perfect rectangle, which
Yes.
means this, you double, and it does that. Because if you broke it down into 2 units, it would be 2 perfect squares.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's where people get confused. Now, also, our charts have the most common sizes on it, from a 1 by 2 all the way up to a 3 by 6.
Right. And Jodi's
And-
done all the math for you, so if
Yeah.
you don't find the size in there, don't do it.
Yeah, it's what I
Don't-
call a
don't
funky
rethink it.
size.
Don't.
But maybe you need something bigger
Right.
or smaller that's
Right.
not on here. And you're looking at flying geese. Then you go to the options, where the options are at, and there is a little magic math formula. And if you read it and look at the picture, you can figure it out.
Yeah.
And if you know the cut and the
And
sewn,
sewn.
if you know the difference in that.
Yeah.
So basically what it's going to tell you, when you look at the magic math, it says that you have to draw it on graph paper. So that means
Okay.
it's the
Correct.
sewn size.
Right.
So if you're drawing it on graph paper, you're not going to see any seam
Seams.
allowance right there,
Correct.
off of there.
That's right.
Okay? And so it's going to tell you to measure from the tip of the nose down the wing to the tip. So you have to measure that and then drop that in your little math equation there. And it's going to tell you what size of center square. And then you can figure your strips either by going to the charts and just kind of getting an estimate.
Yes.
So
Right.
let's say that you find out that this is 3. So if you come in here to the option 3 chart and go to the middle where the center squares
Squares.
are, just look for the one that's closest to it and then look at your strip size.
Strip size.
But if you want to go back and reinvent the wheel and do your own figuring,
No.
you can go to the very beginning where the basic square info is and the option 1, and there's a magic math right there to figure the strips.
Figure any
Yeah.
of the formulas out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't
So
reinvent the
main
wheel.
main workbook, yeah.
Yeah. You know, just.
And I don't ever want anybody to feel lost or stranded. We have
Right.
a text hotline. It's 817-713-2879 anytime you have questions or need help with any of the quilting process. Colors, how do I break this quilt down? Help me with this flying goose, or help me with my borders, whatever. So let's look at some of the other products that we have. This one is the Grand Multi-Purpose Ruler. We call it the Grande. And with this one, I can cut my squares. I can cut my strips. I can trim my options 1 through 17, so that means I can make flying geese, half square triangles. It's larger than this one. People had asked for a larger ruler. They had asked for a smaller ruler for convenience. So when your squares get really, really big, then the grande is a great one to use to help trim up your different options. Now, we also have the diamonds, which instead of a square in the middle, you're going to put a diamond in the middle. So let me see if I can find a picture here of a diamond in the middle. So this one is volume 2 reference book. This one was your volume 1. This one is the one that does all the square options 1 through 17. And this is the one that does the options that start out with a diamond in the middle, diamonds by the square, and it's book 2. So let me find a picture here of a, okay, I don't know. And it does a lot of crazy shapes. So I don't know how well you can see here, but there's a diamond in the middle with the strips on the side. Now, cutting this diamond in the middle, for some reason, that's the hardest part that people have a hard time with. And we show them how to do it with the grande, but with all the lines being the same, some people struggled with that when it's easy to do.
Right.
So on the grande ruler, I don't have this one out of the package, and I don't know how well you can see, but there's a blue line on here, and there's a red line on here. And the red line is what you're going to use to cut that center diamond. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And then to trim that diamond, you've got to go back to your original, and you're going to use the 120s that are on here and the 60s to trim it up like we did there. So every time I get ready, we've had this ruler about 1.5 years, and I hadn't had a ruler for like 20 years because I'm not into making lots of different tools for people to buy and lots of different sizes. I make something that works for everything, and that's what I like. So when I got ready to make this one, I was like, I want it to do more than just cut diamonds. What else do I need? Because I don't like a bunch of stuff on my table. And so it really helps me be able to just have like 2 rulers on my table, and I can do everything. And then this is the mini one. It works just like the original, but people asked for smaller for convenience. And the other
miniatures is good. When you doing really small ones, it's nice to have that.
it's more convenient than having the bigger one there.
But it does say, well, you'll tell them.
Yeah, it does the same thing. But I thought, okay, what else can I add to the mini that I don't have somewhere else that would make it nice? And let me see if I have one in here. No, I don't. See if there's a mini right here real quick. Yeah, okay. So this is the mini out of the package, and one of the things that I love about the mini that I use all the time is this 4-inch corner square. So if I needed to check something to see what my size was, or I needed to put 2 of these together and then trim up my unit or whatever, I use this 4-inch corner square all the time. And then also on the grande, it has, just like this has a 4-inch corner square, this one has a 9-inch corner square. So it's great for squaring up your blocks and your larger units. So that's the mini. And when you watch our webinars and when you work in the Premium Club, you see how we use all of these interchangeable to make it easy for you. Now, when I look at quilts, I see all these different triangle units, and that's what those rulers do that I've just shown you. But the other thing that you have in quilts that help create your designs are when you have multiple squares coming together. So you have 4 patches, those are even numbers coming together, 9 patches, which are odd numbers of squares coming together. So once again, you sew your strips together, and the way that you lay them on there and trim it up, just like these, you know exactly if you're off or how to make it perfect. These help improve on that human element. And you can go to our website, squareinasquare.com, and you can see videos of the 4-patch and 9-patch.
Right. And you've got patterns in there too.
Oh, yes.
So, that makes it nice. It's not as if you're just buying the ruler.
I never liked it, even 20, 30 years ago when rulers were first coming out. They had no directions. Of course, there wasn't YouTube.
No.
There were no patterns. You just got this piece of plastic with lines on it, and it was like, how do I use this?
Yes.
I had a couple of rulers, and I was like, I don't know how to use these.
Right.
So I make sure that all of my books all of my rulers have nice little books that come with them so that you can get home with them and you can get started learning it.
You could make a
Right.
quilt.
Now, of course, we have all the nice YouTubes and Facebooks and everything
Right.
where you can go in and get the visuals, and that's really great.
But make you a file to file these books in
Yes.
somewhere if you've got a file,
spot.
and mark it. You know, these are the square and square. You know, books,
Pamphlets.
reference books.
Right, and in Premium Club, I teach them to get a notebook.
Right.
And they start
That's great.
keeping everything in their
Right.
notebook. We do handouts in Premium Club and
Yes.
in our webinars, and then you have your nice books, and we talk about even getting your books, take them to office supply
Yeah.
Yep.
and
And
get the
yes,
back cut
You
off.
did that, didn't you?
Yeah,
Put
I
them
did
on a
that.
spiral, and even
Yes.
if you can get the covers laminated, because these are workbooks, they're books that you
Right.
use
All the
over
time,
and
over and
over
over
again.
again.
Yeah.
Right.
And this one is the Melee Women book. It's basically these 3 books. We also have Kisses and Letters, which are samplers. But I reckon this one has over 30 patterns in it. I think 35 patterns. So in the book, I think it's $35. So it's like $1 a pattern. So
Right.
you really can't go
You
wrong.
can't go wrong.
If you've got 2 in there you like,
Yeah.
you got it. You got it.
got it.
You got it. And there's
got
Thomas's Log Cabin, Southern Skies.
Yeah. Working on some new ones.
Working
Yeah.
on some new
Yep.
ones in there
Yep,
for some
working
new
on
kits.
some new ones for with
so
the new
really
fabrics
pretty.
and things that are going to be exciting.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
do we have any questions, Steve, before we move on to the binding tool?
Yes, would you like to back? We can back up to Applique.
Okay. We're going to back up to
Okay.
Applique.
I ordered Love of Country. This time I hope to do a better job of the applique. I asked why you have a bunny.
Okay. Why do you have a bunny?
Well,
in
we
the
were
Love of
thinking the same
Applique?
thing.
I know,
but,
I
you
was up there
know.
going, okay, there's a big bunny in there.
Well, I actually, when I started thinking about the quilt and designing it, I wanted it red, white, and blue because that's what our new fabric line is. And I wanted that bunny. I just wanted the little
She likes
quilty
bunnies.
of the bunny.
She has bunnies all over
I
the
do.
little statues. She
Yeah,
does like bunnies.
Bunnies in the yard and
Yep.
bunnies
Yeah,
in
she
your
does. She's a
bedroom.
bunny.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep. She is a bunny.
So I was
person.
going to call it Americana Bunny. I think it's what I was going to
American
call it.
bunny or-
American Bunny is what I was going to call it. And then I thought, well, I really need more bunnies if it's going to be, and I don't want more bunnies.
No.
So to me, it just made it a cute little.
It's a little bit whimsical.
whimsy.
If you don't
whimsy
like the
quilt.
bunny, you can put another block in there.
It's a 12-inch,
yeah.
so
yeah.
put another one of the blocks in, or adapt
Make your
some of the
own,
other
yeah.
applique and make
Yeah.
a different one, make a
Right.
different
Yeah.
flower in a little
But
vase.
try it.
Yeah,
Okay.
Make it whimsy so
Yeah.
people will ask you.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay, another one. I've attempted needle turn applique one time. It was a disaster.
Yes.
Yep.
My applique turned turtle looked more like a fuzzy sloth with a shell. Please tell me that your method is easier.
Oh
Yes.
yes,
It is
yes.
easy.
Yes.
I've
It's
even
easy.
done it.
Yes.
Yes.
And I don't do applique.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes,
It's,
it
it's
is so
easy.
much
If it's not
easier.
easy, like I said, I don't do it.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
I don't do
it
that.
is. There, you had to have a knack with your needle turn. You had to be a
Yeah,
had
you've
that
gotta be able to-
special
yeah.
one to be able to turn that under.
Yeah, and
We
if it
had a-
wasn't cut just right,
Right.
and you had to have, I mean, you still need great light, but you had to have great light,
Right.
and you could not have done it in the car. And
No.
most of mine,
you can
in
you
years
can
past,
prep it
I
all
did.
and you can stitch it right in the car because that's where I do a lot of my applique work and that type
Yeah.
of thing. My wool work and all
get
that.
it prepped, and then you
I
can
get
take
it
it with
prepped
you
and I
anywhere.
can do
Yeah.
it.
And I like
whatever.
when you have a variety of these, the leaves things, because if you make a lot of different
Like we
colors,
used-
yeah,
yeah.
and you used them, and you just make a whole bunch of them, and then you audition them later.
Yes.
You know, you don't have
Yeah.
to say, okay, this has to be a red
Yeah,
check.
I
Well,
need
maybe
3
this.
red ones
Yeah.
for this.
Yeah.
I made
Yeah.
12.
You make
and
yeah
then-
a bunch of them, and
Yeah.
then you
You
put
will
them
have
in
them.
where
Yeah.
you want to. I
Because-
think that's kind of cool because it becomes the wing
yes.
of the bird, and it becomes a leaf, and it becomes a flower.
Yes. And if you could step over this way a little bit, you
And
can
then this
see.
is Junior Bunny in here, huh?
Well, it could be a bunny. I never thought
Yeah,
about a
that
baby
is.
bunny.
That's a baby bunny.
I
in
mean,
there.
I was kind of thinking about it as leaves or whatever. And I still have behind you, Kathy. I still have.
Oh, you've still got one corner
yeah,
to go.
because I
Yep.
ran out of the blue. I have all the other pieces, but I didn't have enough blues because
Oh.
I was going to put different colors in each corner,
Uh-huh.
and so I had a lot of different colors of this big shape. And when I got ready to do it, I was like, no,
Oh,
I
I
want them
only
all
had
the
one.
same.
Okay.
So I had to go back and make one of these.
Yeah, yeah.
So the prep stuff is really where the I'm going to say the time or the work is at.
Right.
By the time you get to putting it on your
Oh,
fabric,
that's easy
it's
peasy.
fast.
Yeah, it's done.
It's easy
Yeah.
peasy. It's
Yeah.
just in that prep
Yeah.
work.
But no, it is better than needle turn.
Yeah.
We did have a good friend, Emily Land. I mean, she was
very proficient.
she was very proficient in her
isn't
needle
Connie,
turn.
Doesn't Connie do
And Connie did
Yeah.
too. Yes,
Yeah.
Connie did too.
Shout
so.
out to you guys if you're
Yes.
on.
Yeah.
But you're going to get that beautiful look of needle turn and the fun of the stitching without the headache and the hard work.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, next.
There's a Facebook user that thought you had done Applique during a webinar, so that was just info
I'm
she
pretty
was
sure
giving out.
you have.
Yeah, I've done so many. I maybe have.
I think that's it for messages. Let's see. Would you have enough fabric in a kit to make blocks instead of the applique?
Yes, you
Yeah,
probably
sure.
would. I never make my kits really skinny. I don't over give you fabric, but I give you enough that if you make a mistake or you want to make a change or switch up a color or whatever,
Yes.
that you can. So yeah, you certainly can. And everything in this quilt is really easy. It's 6 inches, 12 inches, 18 inches. So you can really bump in. So if you didn't want to put the bunny in there and you wanted to go back with another block, you could. Or if you wanted to put 4 of your of your Milky Ways or
Yeah.
4 of your Bear Paws or whatever,
Yeah.
then you can.
So the quilt behind you is a finished version of Love of Country.
Yes.
Yeah, we
What
did.
is the finished size?
Is it still 57?
57 by 57. Yes.
57 by 57. So yesterday when you saw it, it just was the 42 by 42. And then we added a little border here. And when you get ready to do a pieced border, what I always teach everybody is that you add a frame to it. And with the width of that frame, you get the quilt to an easy number, an easy size that you can work with. So it's easy to go in and put these.
So you have the correct
yeah.
amount
So
in there.
I
You
told-
don't cut one off.
I told Kay, I said, I want these to be about 3 inches
Right.
sewn. So I said, this is 42. And of course, you have to work with sewn measurements. So if it's 42 sewn, it's 42 and a half with raw edge.
Right.
So I was like, you have to make this wide enough to get this so that the
So
3
those
inches
inch-
will go into
will
it.
go
So
in.
you got it to 45.
45.
3
Yes.
goes into 45 15
15
times,
times.
so we know we needed 15 of these.
Mm-hmm.
And this is an option 17. Option 17 is when you get 1, 2, 3 triangles out of your square. And when you make the option, you're going to get 2 of these and you get 2 half square triangles. So in our quilt, so that we could use all of those pieces, we did option 17s here and here. And then we did the leftover byproduct, option 4s, half square triangles, here and across the bottom. And then I really was liking the blue and black check with the quilt. And so you could use the red and black or whatever. And then these are the American, the eagle with the flag. And so we fussy cut those 4.5 to go in here. And then we had them in the larger expanded version of the fabric and cut them 6.5 to go here. And because I just had little samples of this new fabric with the flag, we did blue in 2 corners because that's all we had, and we did the lighter color in 2 corners because that was all we had to go in there. Okay.
I love the Stars and Stripes border that's just behind Jodi. What quilt does it go to?
This one?
Yeah,
Oh, it's
very
not a
kind.
border. It's
It's
the.
not a border,
Let's
That one.
gently pick this one up so they can
so
see.
you can see it better.
Yeah, this one is Americana, and it's an individual pattern on the website. This is a 3-inch star, and in the pattern you can do a 3-inch, a 4, a 5, a 6, 7, 8, 19, 11, 12-inch star. All of those are in the pattern, and of course your 4 strips of stratas fit, and you just go through, and of course you can make them. When I did this one, I was going to make it a little quilt, and I fell in love with the way that it was looking with my scraps, and I enjoy having a scrap quilt going. This one took me about 18 months to do because as I was working on a project, I would just go ahead and cut my scraps to be my sizes for in here. And so as I was working on a project, you know, I could work on it, or if I had 15 minutes and I wasn't ready to start another one, but I wanted to sew. I like something in progress so that I can go in and sew. I also like a scrap quilt always in progress. And the scrap quilt that I'm currently working on, I don't know if you can grab one of those, Kay, without all of that falling.
Which one of these?
I had the star jingle. Yeah, if you'll just grab one of those.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
And maybe that bigger one on your right too, right there.
Okay.
Grab both of those. So the scrap quilt that I'm working on now, because I like to keep control of my scraps. I don't like them running out.
Willy-nilly.
Willy-nilly. So in my studio or in my closet,
Yeah, you're pretty
I
good.
don't have,
No, you've
overrun
got
of
a few
scraps.
baskets
Yeah.
hanging around.
yeah. But they're in progress.
They are in progress.
Okay, so this one is that same star, but we're putting it inside as the center square and sewing around it and doing what we call option 16, which gives it the twist. And when these come together,
sure where we are.
one more, there we go. So when these come together, you can see this circle, and we call it Star Jingle. And so you can go back to the webinars to May, and you can look at the 9-patch Jingle Jangle, which we used 9-patch in here instead of a star. So see, you could put anything in there, 9-patch, star, churn dash, whatever you want, applique, whatever, inside here. Do the twist, set it together the way we have, and you'll get, think about if you did a leaf, how it would look like a wreath. If you put a leaf block in there. I mean, just endless. And so this is my scrap quilt I have in progress. I've worked on it, probably maybe 2 or 3 months now. Haven't too much the last couple of weeks because I've been working on Love of Country. Now, yesterday, before we had a waiting list for Love of Country for this one. And yesterday we opened up the kit and the class, so you can actually go in, you can order the kit, you can order the class. Now if you're Premium Club, if you're signing up for Premium Club, you can go in right now and sign up for Premium Club and get all the information. Go to the website, squareandasquare.com, and there's a banner right at the top, right, Steve, that says Premium Club, and you click on it, and there's a little video where I'm going to talk to you, and then there's all the written stuff on there. And there's
registration.
and the registration, and you can sign up for Premium Club, or you can sign up for Quilt Club Week. But remember, if you sign up for Premium Club, all of this is in there, and it's part of it. So Quilt Club Week 2020 is part of Premium. The new one coming in December 2021, it will be in there. You don't have to pay extra for it. So the best value is always the Premium Club. But if you want just Love of Country, you can go in there and sign up for that class. It's going to start the first Monday in September and go to the third Monday of November, and we will have a class every Monday. You can use your stash, you can buy the kit, or you can go in and to our website and just purchase a few of the fabrics and mix them in with what you already have.
Leslie loves your bunny.
Leslie loves the bunny. Thank you, Leslie. I'm glad you love the bunny. I think it's cute. I think it adds whimsy to it.
It does. It does.
Yeah. Let's show this one, Kathy.
Okay.
So in last fall, so in Premium Club, we have 2 larger projects each year, and then we have a bunch of other smaller projects. And this one was called Welcome Home, and this is the one that we did last fall. Now, we don't have any kits left for Welcome Home, but of course the class is in there and you can take it. You can buy just Welcome Home and just take that class, or you can join Premium Club and have it. But like I said, Premium Club is always the best value for you. And then in January, we did a block of the week on Mondays, and we went from January to May. We show all the blocks and everything that you can learn in that block. It's not just, oh, here's a block, this is how you do it, but we really go into depth in learning everything that we can with that block. And that's one reason why I love to teach a sampler format, is because each block has so much individual skills or knowledge that we can teach in it. And as we put the blocks together, you can learn how to handle the human element, which we call the science of patchwork. So I loved some of the comments that I got from students. This one started in January. It's in the Premium website. 12 blocks, the stars, the setting. And then we show multiple settings. Not everybody put theirs together this way. We gave you lots of information on how to make the quilt unique and how it can be yours. And one lady said, she said, I did the block of the week. She said, it was the first square and a square quilt I ever did. And she said, after taking all of those classes on Monday and putting my quilt together, she said, I now have the confidence to make any quilt. And I just love that. It gives you the confidence that you can jump in there and make any of the quilts that you want to make. So with fall coming and just around the corner, we're really this week with Quilt Talk having fun and filming for Quilt Club. But we're opening up Premium Club. We don't always have it open. And we're also opening up Quilt Club, where you can go in and watch it and get ready for the new one. And if you sign up just for Quilt Club 2020 now, you'll have it to the end of December. And then you'll be ready when our new one opens up on December 4th. And, you know, with fall coming and I think people still kind of thinking about staying home a little bit more than they used to, I would love to be able to go to a site like our Premium Club and be able to watch quilting videos all day long. Even if I'm working on a different project, I can be watching or listening. And I can stop and say, oh, hey, what is she doing? What did she do?
Right.
Oh, wow, that's really cool. And as you're working on a project that maybe isn't necessarily one of ours, you still learn things that you can add to your skills and your knowledge of piecing on there.
That's what I love to do.
You know, because you can only binge so many series.
That's right.
And
After
all
a while,
that.
it's like, well,
Yeah.
I've seen it
So, question.
Okay, for Love of Country fabric list,
Mm-hmm.
it's not posted yet.
Okay. We've been keeping Steve really, really busy. And we had a
cook for us.
and he does make breakfast for us every morning outside.
yes.
And but we do have the page ready to go. It is a supply list with all the different fabrics that we have, because I know some of you already have a nice stash of ours and you just need to add a few other pieces to it. And you can use your stash, whether it's my stuff or other stuff. So we will have a couple of people, Steve said he emailed it to, but we will have it in a location where you can look at it and know.
I'll create a module with this quilt now that it's
Done.
and it will be at the beginning of that, but it'll also be on the website where you ordered it for people.
We'll add it to the website where you
So
order.
there'll be a couple places.
And he said he'd add it to you somewhere else so that you can look and see what you need and what you're looking forward to. Now, one other thing about, and when you go in to look for this, there's a lot of different choices. You can order the kit, and if you are not Premium Club, then you have to pay for the class, so make sure you get that on there. I'm sorry.
Pattern.
Well, the pattern and the
And
class come
classes.
together.
Yes.
And then you can order backing, and it's 5 yards, and so that's backing and binding, and there's a couple of different choices on there. If you want something else, just tell us, and we can, there's a couple of choices there for backing, but if you want something different, just let us know. And then we also have an applique kit. So the applique kit has the bias binding in the black. There's 11 yards. This is the package here, and that's what we've used in our applique. Because to me, the bias binding is the hardest thing to do. I don't want to do it. So if I
Right.
can use this little black bind, then that makes me happy. And it has your applique needles. It'll have 8 colors of thread that
Seven.
we
Seven.
Seven. I'm sorry, 7 colors. The colors that we use in the quilt if you're looking for the thread. And it's going to be the it's the Gutermann silk. And I love the silk because it's so smooth. But this one doesn't tangle, it doesn't break.
Oh, nice.
And it's not horribly expensive.
Expensive. Good.
It's some of
Like
those
silk
silks
threads,
are
yeah.
so expensive. And then the hummingbird needle threader. So you can order that if you want those supplies to go with your applique. That is all separate. Okay? All right, so question, and then we're going to do some binding.
Just a comment. Since joining Premium, Linda says that she joined after Quilt Week 2020. I've spent more time watching videos than ever before, and I've been quilting more.
Yay.
Yay.
So this particular student found us and joined during Quilt Club Week. And when Quilt Club Week was over, she decided she wanted to join Premium because she liked what she
Right.
saw and what she was learning. And she jumped into Premium, and we've done Welcome Home since then. We've did the block of the week. Now we're getting ready to do Love of Country. She says she's watching videos, she's learned more, and she's quilting more,
A lot
piecing more.
of the videos are closed captioned if you want to read, if you're in a location, or if you just want to read along.
Yes, closed caption. Now when we do the live stuff, we
The
can't.
live stuff is not closed captioned.
But when
except on replays,
And replays.
you can do it on YouTube.
But when it gets to replays, we can do the
Right,
closed caption on there.
Which is cool. So, because when you do these clubs, you're doing these webinars, you're teaching how to do it. It's not just giving you a pattern
Yeah, here, go do
and
this.
say, here, these are the instructions. And,
If you get that.
they go on, and then next week you get another piece of paper.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
show exactly how to
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah, one
And,
class
you know,
can be
you don't get
anywhere
that.
from 20 minutes to 2 hours,
Right.
depending on what everything that we can think
Right.
of to teach in the process of
Right.
that.
And Jodi is a little talkative, so you get her going, just like me. We can't stop. Like yesterday, whoa,
Our quilt talk
2
was not-
hours.
I know, and we weren't
My
ready
butt
to
was
stop.
Yeah,
our bottoms were sore sitting on the chair. Okay, so the other tool that we have is the shortcut binding tool, and the shortcut binding tool was designed by Kay and Kathy, and it was their little baby for I don't know how many years. Did you have it?
Since 2013.
Since
5,
2000
6 years, 5, 6
Yeah,
years,
yeah.
6, 7 years, 8
Yeah.
years.
And they so
5, 6, 7,
multiple
8.
years, 6, 7, 8. So
Yeah.
anyway, and they marketed it, and took it to the shows and all of that. And then when they sold their shop, and they kind of quit going to shows, and it was time to buy new inventory,
Right.
and they
we
thought
decided,
it
no.
needs a new home. We need
Yep.
to rehome it. So they called me and they said, Jodi, would you like to adopt our shortcut binding tool, baby? And I said, well, of course. I said, we don't want it to die out. It's a very valuable tool. I'm a no-nonsense girl. This is one that you need. Like I said, I don't have a lot of rulers that you buy, but to do your binding. And a lot of people really struggle with the binding
Yeah,
of
they do.
doing the
They
mitered
do.
edges, putting the tails together, and these beautiful flanges that we have
Right.
in our quilt. So maybe that turkey trap blue
Oh, yeah.
one.
Find
Let's
the turkey
pull
trap.
it up real quick.
Steve had it back behind him.
Yeah, let's put it down so they can see that flange.
Mm-hmm.
And now you can do a regular binding. You don't have to do the flange, but we love this flange.
Well, the reason
here.
we kind of created it was because we were tired of hand stitching the bindings.
Yes,
we-
because we have so many we have to do.
Right. Well, Kathy would be stitching them in the car as we was going to the shows, and you've done that too.
Oh, yeah.
Or what we would do was decide where it hung in the booth, and we'd only do
do
the
the
top
part that's-
half that showed,
And do the other later.
and do the other later, which
Yeah.
we found that was
Never
never done.
done.
yeah, you
Yeah.
don't get
So
it done.
we were
wanted a
tired of
fast
doing
way.
that.
Well,
we wanted a
and the
faster
other thing, if the,
and neater way to do it.
if the quilt's machine pieced and it's machine quilted, why not
not?
machine? And the
Yeah.
reason why I think people didn't do it is because it didn't look neat.
Right.
Yeah.
They
And
didn't
with-
want that stitching on the front.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
and with this method, you can do it all machine, and it
You
looks
can't tell.
professional and nice. It doesn't look,
Right.
yeah,
Yep.
Right.
it looks handmade, not homemade.
There you go.
Yes.
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 Okay.
And it
So-
has that special touch right there on that
because
binding.
see, I didn't do
like
multiple
that,
borders on here.
No.
I just did that, and that's all it needed.
Yeah.
I didn't need to do another border, or another strip, or a piece, or whatever. That
Right.
was enough
It just adds that
to
little
add
pop.
that little touch of pizzazz.
Just a little
Okay.
pizzazz.
So yesterday we demoed in QuiltTalk how
Right.
to put the tails
How to
together.
put the tails and all that together.
And then
we
Somebody
had
asked-
a question
somebody
about doing bias.
how do I cut a bias?
Okay.
Yes. Okay. So let's do that.
We're going to kind of go over just cutting a little bit. So when you're cutting, and I've just pulled out a little piece of fabric here. So your flange, when you're cutting your flange, I usually cut my flange crosswise. And that means from selvage to selvage. So if I wanted to cut my binding, or my flange on here, what I would do is I'd press this first. Make sure you don't have any bumps or lumps over here. And I learned a long time ago, when you're cutting, you always want this fold line at the bottom.
Yes, I agree.
Next to you. You don't want it at the top. I like it at the fold line. Now, if I had lines on my mat here,
Well,
I
we can
would
flip it if you want.
Okay, yeah, flip it over.
I like to use the back side.
Yeah. But when I'm
Doing
I'm
this,
doing a cut, I want just a fresh cut on that very beginning. Okay. So I'm just going to line this fold line right here at the bottom of a line, and I have my ruler, and I'm just going to use this to give me a clean cut. That's all I'm doing at this point, is doing a clean cut. Even though we all try and shops try as hard as they can to do a straight line, it's
You
always
got
nice
to.
to come back and do a straight
You
cut.
have to do a clean
Right.
cut.
So then at this point for my flange, I am going to use my 1 3/4 inch measurement. So to get the number of strips you need to measure your quilt, and your yardage is usually 40 inches wide. Your fabric, your strips are 40 inches wide. So you have to decide how many strips you need. And then I'm just gonna line that black line right on top of my fabric, not to the side. It's right on top.
And this is for the flange.
This is for the flange, okay?
And it's
'Cause-
selvage to selvage.
And it's cut selvage to selvage.
Okay.
Okay. And keep cutting however many you need. And after you do 4 or 5, you may need to do a new cut.
A new cleanup.
cleanup cut. So that's how you cut your selvage. Now binding.
Your flange.
Your flange.
Your flange. Your flange.
Your flange.
It's okay.
Your
That's why
flange.
we're here.
That's why
That's
you're
why
here.
you're-
You keep me straight. Okay. Now binding. It can be on the straight of grain, as we talked about, and the reasons yesterday why we did it. So you'll be able to see all of that.
If you
Oh no,
watch
we
yes-
did yesterday on
Right,
QuiltTalk.
yesterday
so,
we did all that
Yeah,
on
so you
QuiltTalk.
can go back and look at all of that. So it's on the straight of grain, which is across, or on the bias. And a bias means a 45-degree angle. So if you take your fabric, and this is something, your crosswise is going to stretch a little bit. Lengthwise does not stretch. You can pop that and it does not stretch. Now you take your fabric, and I'm going to fold this. Okay, just going to take one side
Like a old-fashioned
like
headscarf.
an old headscarf and fold it
Or
at
a
a
diaper.
diagonal.
Do you think anybody knows how to fold a headscarf or a diaper anymore?
Probably not. I did few diapers. Yes, I did. So I'm just going to kind of match this up. Just kind of like this. We'll say that's good. And this is my 45-degree angle. See how much more that stretches?
Yeah, it's got a lot of movement.
You've got a lot of movement in your 45-degree angle, just like that. Now, when I cut, I do a little differently. Kathy kind of likes to cut all the
All
way.
the way up. Yep.
But I don't. I usually take my fabrics because I like shorter cuts.
I do too. I like
I would fold this back up like this, making sure, cutting all of this.
And it's pressed.
And it's pressed and all of that. Now, see, that is still too long for me. So I would probably even take it up another one.
And see, you can do just a little bit. You don't have to bring it all the way.
Right. Just a little bit, just like that. Then you're going to take your tool. Now, you've got a fold line here. That's, so when you're cutting, that fold, I don't cut right at the 1 3/8. I do like
When it's at the fold.
when it's at the fold. I would cut that little bit of a fold. I would cut that. And that would be, and then I would take it and refold it and then cut it the 1 3/8. And then I would continue cutting it the 1 3/8. And that's like what I have here. Because see this,
there's your bias
and this
then.
is my bias. See right there, it
See that?
stretches.
Yeah.
You can see that stretches. So I'm going to pull this up like this, even up my edges. Then I'll take my, and I'm
Now-
going to put that 1 3/8, and that's that blue line. That's the blue line. Jodi taught us to use our palm of our hand. Sometimes I use,
And as
kind
long
of
as your
my,
hand's
yeah.
flat. And I like part
Yeah.
on, part off.
Part-
it helps
yeah,
stable
yeah,
it.
it helps stabilize that. Because if you have a big long strip, that end's going to kind of turn like this, and it's not going to be straight. So you're just going to
You have to walk
continue
your
doing
hand
that.
down, and
You
we
walk
don't.
your hand down,
And sometimes we don't do that.
right? And you're just going to cut.
Keep going. Yep.
Keep a straight cut whenever you're cutting. I like to start and go.
Yeah.
I don't want to Okay.
Yeah.
And I always teach everybody to start down here. Don't start right here where
Right.
your fabric is in.
Start out
Start
here.
down
Right.
here
That's
and
what I
then
tell
go.
my
And cut.
beginners.
Yeah. And then when you get all these, you already have that angle
You
here.
have your angle already,
Mm-hmm.
and so all I have to do is flip
Match up
this
your angles.
right. And if I wanted to, what I'm doing is sewing from that point to that point, not a quarter of an inch.
Yeah.
Doesn't make any difference.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Just
No,
sew
just
from
from
that
point
corner
to point.
down to that corner.
I could move this all the way over to here if I wanted to,
And once again,
and still
you're
point.
just going to go from that where where this fabric and this fabric comes
Intersects.
together.
Intersects.
Right.
Yeah, and then just sew it right,
Right.
on down.
Because if I'm trying to, well, sometimes if I have a plaid or something that needs
wanna
to be
match.
kind of match,
Yeah.
then I can match it up.
Yeah. So see there how it's nice
Yep.
and even, and then you just trim off that.
trim
and
that
you're
off.
ready to go.
Yeah. That's as easy as it is. And then when you're doing this one, to get your pieces together, I'm just going to cut this piece in half. Then, because you've got straight strips, I fold them up. I take them,
Yep.
put them like this,
And you can move it down.
and you can move it down.
can-
You know, you got to remember your selvage down here. So
oh yeah,
I want to
that
pull
one's
it
got
back.
selvage.
And again, point to point.
Okay, so now what I do, because
Now, what you
sometimes
do.
I think that I might be going that
That
way,
way.
and I'd be wrong, then I'll take this and just make sure that I'm
Yeah,
going
you can
the correct
double check.
way.
You can check.
Because if I went this way,
Way.
It's,
okay, it's
yeah.
not
It's
it's
gonna-
not right.
Yeah,
It's not right.
Right.
Yeah.
So therefore, I check myself. Well, I
Yeah.
don't. I pretty
'Cause
well
you-
But,
you
know.
but you're
now.
beginners.
But my
at the
beginners,
beginning.
when I show them that they can check it before they
Right.
Yeah, make
or
sure-
just kind of make sure it's
make
going
sure
that
it's
way.
going
Yep.
the same way. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's how, and then I come back. Once that's sewn, then I trim it off and leave about a quarter of an inch, and then I press those
Press it
seams
open.
open. Okay?
Yeah.
So that's how you do bias
Cool.
compared to, straight across.
Yeah.
And I
it's
don't.
easy.
It is easy,
It's
and
easy. Don't
I
be
just.
afraid. Get going. We've got videos on the bias binding too, long ones that are very in depth and short,
Short
ones.
ones.
Yeah.
Yes, Mr. Steve. He's got a question.
I love the look of the flange and also enjoy hand sewing the binding on the back while watching
can.
TV. Is it possible to use the ruler, then hand stitch
Of
the back
course.
of the binding?
absolutely.
Of course.
Using the flange?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what you would have to do
You're
if
gonna-
you did that,
Yeah.
okay?
You do a running stitch in here, wouldn't you? Is that
Well,
what
no, what
you, no.
You would put it on the
No.
front?
No.
No.
See, to me, I know you love to do handwork.
It defeats.
It kind of defeats the purpose of having the flange. Now, you can go back and you
And
could
stitch
hand
the
stitch this
flange.
flange down.
Sure.
Uh-huh.
Sure.
Yeah, you can.
That's what you would have to do basically is hand stitch the flange down if you still wanted the
You would be
flange.
stitching it here on the outside,
outside
edge
edge
of the wire
instead of
instead
in
of
there.
stitching it in here. Because with the
Yes.
machine, you're coming in right here
Right.
and doing it.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're coming in just a little bit further.
Yeah.
Or the other thing is you go back to and I don't, it's sad to say, you go
Well-
back the traditional way of making the flange, sewing the pieces, sewing it to your quilt, then doing your old-fashioned way of bindings and then stitching it to the back.
Yeah.
That's
What I tell myself, because I always wanted that hand binding because of the look, because the machine binding did not look good.
right.
And sometimes these people have these feet or equipment or whatever that does it on the
Right.
machine, and it looks bad.
Bad.
Yeah.
Bad, bad, bad. You have a beautiful quilt, beautiful quilting, and then you put that horrible binding on. And when I go in and judge quilts, many, many times the piecing is great, the quilting is great. 5 quilts here that
Yep.
all are the same caliber of
Yep.
work.
Right.
And
wanna
what
be-
makes the first, the second, and the third place quilt
It's
is
usually
this
the binding.
Is this binding? Yeah. Do they know how to do the corners? Is the corner open or is it stitched down?
Down. Yeah.
How does it look on the back?
Right.
How does it look on the front?
Right.
And
But mine's not going in any shows, and so
But
you
this
know.
is how I think about handwork. I love handwork. I know you love handwork. We still want to do our handwork, but I want to put my handwork in something that I can't do on
Right,
a machine.
on a machine.
So I do it with my wool applique. I do it with my applique
Okay.
or with my embroidery. And
Yes.
not that I hand quilt very much anymore, but I still like to hand quilt every once in a while.
Right.
I have a quilt I'm working
You're
on.
gonna have to
Yeah.
have
And you're
finish
gonna
that.
have-
You're gonna have a
In
quilt that you're gonna
fact,
finish.
I'm going to have two now because you
Yes.
guys are
Yep.
going to put
Finishing
one.
up that other
So
one.
we did yesterday. We filmed a class for Quilt Club Week 2021, and it's talking about quilting as you go. So you make your block and you quilt your block, and you do that for each block, and then you put those quilted blocks together, and how you finish it so it looks beautiful. So I had a quilt that was 30 years old, but the fabric was still pretty.
It was.
And I was
yeah,
hand quilting it, and I must say the hand quilting was exquisite.
It is.
And but I didn't have it put together because I wasn't happy with how I was going to have to put it together.
That's right.
And so after Kathy showed that yesterday, I was like, oh, what
Light
can we do
bulb.
with this?
Light bulb.
And so we're not going to get that quilt done with
Yep.
the Quilt As You Go is what we taught,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
will be in Quilt Club 21.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And so Jodi dug that quilt out. She didn't have extra fabrics with it, so we went.
Well, that's why we headed to the
That's-
closet.
So that's
the
why we
reason
went
we
into the
the
closet this
into
morning.
the closed door stash
To the-
closet.
yes,
because I
because
said
we-
all of that fabric
Yep.
for 30 years has been kept together. I know I have it. We can get it with a flange
Okay.
and get it with that
Yes.
quilt as you go and the binding
Yep.
and everything.
So
on
that's
it.
what that's the project too.
Yeah.
Plus
Very
the other ones she's giving us to do. We talked before we came out here. We have 5 new quilts.
one?
that-
Oh,
Five.
we sat at the table today and we had all the fabric laid out that we have, and we started looking at the quilts in the books, which ones we wanted to remake with the new fabric.
Right.
And we have a brand new one that we named Mountain
Mountain
Path.
Path.
Mountain Path. It's beautiful
It is.
red,
It's
white,
gonna
and
be
blue
gorgeous.
quilt. And it's going to be gorgeous. We're using a lot of the checks.
Yes.
in it.
Yes.
Yes.
And I can't wait to see that one. So we're that'll be a
Using
brand new
just
pattern.
blues. I thought we were using
Well, the
just-
red check. We're
Yes,
using the red
you're
checks.
right. You're
the
right.
red and black
Of course,
check.
you're right.
and the
I'm
blue and-
sorry that I
Don't
even
hit me.
tried to.
Oh, don't hurt her.
She hit me. You
Oh,
She's always right.
she might be riding home by herself.
I know.
Yeah,
I'm flying.
Hey, I'm
Yeah.
driving.
I know, but
I'm
she's
flying.
gonna find another way home. If you're gonna be mean to her.
I got the credit card.
I got one too.
But anyway, we've got fabric and quilts we're sending home, and now that she's retired from the quilt shop, she feels kind of bad about not having some work to do. So she's going to be making some quilts for us out of the new fabric. And we got strike-offs today of some of the new fabrics. I didn't bring them over. I'll save them for another one. And we'll have a little more information on when they're going to be available on those. One called Celebrate America. Really cool.
Really cool.
cute.
It's got
Really cute.
1776 on it, 2026 on it, and then another one that is We the People, the
Right. I
Declaration.
like that.
Words, text, and then the tone-on-tone flags,
Flags. Oh.
our eagle flag, and then our eagle vine. So we have 5 fabrics that are very distinctive of being very Americana and the 250-year celebration that we're going to have soon.
Yep.
In 2026.
6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very
So
soon.
I'm sad because I think this is our last
This may
quilt
be
talk
our last
for a while.
I know, but Steve says
Steve
that
says
even though you guys are in Tennessee,
Tennessee, yeah.
that we can group together and
Do it.
Do a
The
quilt talk.
mastermind has figured
The
this
master
out.
technician over there. Yeah.
so maybe it
Exactly.
won't be a year from now.
No.
It'll
Right.
be
Yeah.
Maybe
sooner
closer.
than that. That
Yes.
would be
You're
nice.
going to have to keep the same energy level, though.
Oh yeah, we
Oh
will.
yeah, we will.
Yeah.
She's the one. Well,
Yeah.
you're always high energy, but we'll do good. We'll do good.
I go to bed at night and I barely get those covers pulled up on me, and I am out
Yeah.
like a light.
Yeah.
I am out.
You
and
go like the energizer
Yeah.
Oh,
bunny.
yeah.
Go,
and
go,
I
go,
don't
go, go.
move. I don't move till my eyes and my eyes wake. It's almost like some of those Avatar movies or something, because I'm just like out.
Yeah.
And
I
then
don't,
you
and,
just-
and when I wake up in the morning, most of the time I'm in the same position as when
You
I
left-
went to sleep. I haven't moved. And all of a sudden, it's not like you kind of start waking up in your mind that
Yeah.
your eyes are shut. My eyes just pop open and I'm awake.
ready to go.
Ready to
That's
go.
good.
Ready to go.
Yeah. Dusted those
Refreshed.
pictures on the wall.
I know. She's up there. You missed it.
Yeah,
think you
I
were-
was sewing.
You were busy sewing, and she's got this little duster, and she's dusting around, and she's dusting the
Well, I had
picture
10
frame.
minutes. I
and
was
she had
waiting.
10
minutes.
What a way to utilize your
Your
time.
time.
I'll tell
I'm
you.
listening to you.
And the little duster was there. Well, I saw it earlier. I'll be damned if I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
And thank you all for giving me ideas for
Oh,
my husband's
yeah,
for his
yesterday.
for our wedding anniversary.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
and yesterday or someone said about a fish tank. So
Someone sent
that's
an
a
email.
possibility. I'm
That
looking,
she was
maybe
like,
thinking
oh,
about that. We
maybe
used to have 40 gallons and 50 gallons saltwater tanks. So that's a possibility. Possibility.
Yeah.
So
We got any last minute questions, Mr. Steve? Okay. All right.
okay.
So what?
Sign ups.
Sign up. So go to squareandsquare.com. You can click at the top and you'll get information for Premium Club and Quilt Club Week. Make sure you scroll all the way down, read everything.
There's a video.
There's a video that you can watch. Everything's in there. And if you have any questions, email us, Jodi at squareandasquare.com if you have any questions about it. But don't put your quilting life on hold.
No.
You know, up your game, learn some new stuff.
Yes.
It's not only
Yes.
good for us to have goals and to have fun and do stuff that we enjoy, but it's good for our brain.
It is.
Absolutely.
It's good
Keeps
for
us
our
fresh.
brain to be able to keep doing this.
Right.
And if you join, make sure you go to the Facebook page and join the Premium Club Facebook page. You've got to answer 2 questions on there. If you don't answer them, Steve can't help you. So when you're going to go to Facebook and go to Square and Square Premium Club, if you find premium, I'm sure it'll pop up to it. And answer the 2 questions, and then Steve will let you in. He'll open the door and let you in
There
to
you
the
go.
Facebook.
And I love that
Yeah.
group because
Oh,
they're
it is.
showing quilts all the time, and
Uh-huh.
everybody gives praises. There's no
Yes.
negativity
No.
Yes.
in it.
No.
There's just,
no
it's
negative.
just really
yeah.
No.
So you can feel calm and
Yeah.
good about
Yes.
posting your picture,
Yeah.
asking your questions, whatever.
Yes.
And
Yes.
do that. Now, if you need help with a package or shipping or help with don't forget to email about it or to text 817-713-2879. The group is good to help, but don't ask them questions they can't
Yeah, you
help
can't
with.
really
Yeah.
answer. You
Yeah.
can't.
And
see 'em
don't
to-
go on there and say, Jodi, where's my package? Because I may not see
No.
it.
Yeah.
No.
I may not see
No.
it. So-
Facebook picks and choose
Yeah.
what they want to
Yeah,
show.
and I try to go in each morning and each night and look for stuff, but that doesn't
No.
mean
You're
even
gonna see
my
it now.
administrative page
Yeah.
is. I don't think it does what I think it should
No.
do,
Yeah.
and I don't think it's me.
No.
Sometimes it's me when it's technology, but I don't think it's me.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
If you're in Premium Club, do you need to sign up for Quilt Club Week? I know it's included, but do you need
To do anything,
to do anything?
and I say no. Am I correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
It will be in Premium.
It will be in premium,
Yes,
ready
last
to
year
go.
it was at a different location.
Last year it kind of was like a separate building, but
Yes.
This year, you just.
it's all in the same
It's
building.
all
It'll all be
Premium Club.
together. That make
Yeah.
it easy, and then it'll
Yeah.
just remain in.
And if you want, those of you that are in premium, go back in and watch Quilt Club Week 20.
Mm-hmm. We
Yeah.
did a lot of good stuff last
It's
year.
Yeah, there's a
still
ton
in the
of
other
good-
location, but
Well,
that's my
some of the
next
stuff
project.
because we've been reworking the website and getting everything in groups, so you can go see all the 9-patch quilts. You can go see all the easy, simple
Oh,
quilts.
really?
Nice.
You can
Because
go
I
in
haven't
and
been in
see
there.
all of the bigger projects.
Good.
There's an area that has the videos for the 4-patch, 9-patch, all that. Then there's the area that has the webinars. But if something was in the webinar that would fit into the scrappy or the
Scraps.
9-patch or the 4-patch or whatever,
Put it in
we've
there.
got it in that location too. So it should be easier because when we first started, it was like premium 1 and this is what it is, and
Yep.
then premium 2 the second year and this is your stuff. But now that we've been going over 4 years,
Years.
there's so much information,
Information.
and the people who are just joining, it's like, where do
Yeah,
I
yeah,
go
where do I
to
go?
find
Yeah.
that?
Be
So,
patient.
so-
Hit buttons.
yeah,
See what pops up.
Don't be afraid
Keep
to touch.
scrolling down.
Email Steve. Email Jodi. Yeah.
Text Jodi.
Okay, so go to the squareandsquare.com and click on that for Premium Club.
It's at the
Read
very
all of
top.
it. It's at the very top. If you have any questions, ask, and then come join us. Come join.
Yeah.
Come have fun.
Have fun. Okay.
Anything else?
I believe that might be
Okay,
it.
and if
Perfect.
you're wanting the kit for Love of Country or the little applique with the threads and all that, make sure you get in there and get that ordered. We are having great response for that, and so
And you only have so many kits of those at this point.
at this point, we will
You
be
know,
able to make more.
more,
but since
but
some of this fabric,
some of the fabric is not
here,
available
we're
now.
flying certain quantities in, so it'll
Right.
be here faster, and so
Yeah.
we don't want anybody to have to wait. You'll get it
You'll
if
get
for
it,
some
but
reason
it's-
you'll wait, but.
Yes.
And when I
All right.
teach the blocks, I'm going to teach them if there is a fabric that we're waiting on for whatever
Right.
reason, I'll push that block down to the
Down.
end
Okay.
so
Yeah.
that if
When the
When
fabric
it
comes,
yeah,
comes
you
in,
can,
then they
you'll
should
have
be
it.
yeah.
Sure.
And we want to start shipping kits by the end of the month or sooner, and soon as that other 2 pieces of fabric get here, everything else is almost already cut. We'll get those cut and we'll start shipping, and by as soon as we can in August for the kits. And then we start teaching the first Monday of September, and I'm pretty sure it goes to the 3rd Monday because I was going to do settings and borders all at once, but I'm going to divide it up into 2 classes. So I think that means there's 11 classes, so 11 Mondays, and that will make us go to the 3rd Monday of November. Then we'll have a little bit of time off for Thanksgiving. And then bam, our Quilt Club week, December 1 to December 4.
Yep.
And that'll be all of our stuff to the end of the year. And if you're planning on coming to Houston and everything stays good and we have a Houston festival, we're going to have a big Square in a Square celebration on Friday night during festival. So make sure if you're coming, mark your calendar. We're hoping to have it at the George R. Brown, but that didn't work out. So we're looking at having it at the Hilton or the Marriott, which is just right
right
there
there.
across the street.
Right.
It'll be on Friday night. It'll be free to come, but our
Wow.
room will only hold so many.
Right.
So